Hollyoaks' wedding ends in disaster as Jez's dark truth unravels. John Paul left reeling and Mercedes in danger. The latest Hollyoaks episodes have plunged viewers into a whirlwind of deceit, heartbreak, and danger as the long-anticipated wedding of Jez Blake and John Paul McQueen spirals into chaos. What was meant to be a celebration of love and unity becomes the stage for revelations, manipulations, and a chilling glimpse into Jez's darker nature. With hearts broken and secrets unmasked, this storyline delivers one of the soap's most emotionally charged arcs in recent memory. As viewers tuned in to Monday's tense installment, July 21st, the cracks in the seemingly passionate relationship between Jez and John Paul began to deepen beyond repair. Jez's volatile nature came to the fore in terrifying fashion when he shattered a mirror in a fit of rage, an act that symbolized far more than a broken reflection. The explosion followed John Paul's painfully honest confession: he didn't feel truly known or loved by his fiancée. The moment, though brief, sent ripples through their relationship and planted the seeds of doubt in John Paul's heart. A young witness with a secret. While the wedding preparations continued in the background, another subplot unfolded with dangerous implications. Jez crossed paths with young Bobby Costello, who had been sneaking around the village allotments. When confronted, Bobby admitted that he was searching for evidence that could clear his name in the murder case of social worker Ian Stone. But the real twist? Jez himself was the true culprit behind Ian's death. Having long operated under a carefully managed facade, Jez had thus far avoided suspicion. Now, with Bobby's curiosity threatening to blow his cover, Jez sprang into action with a chilling calmness. Ever the manipulator, Jez devised a cunning and morally repugnant plan. He would frame the late Dilly Harcourt for Ian's murder. As far as he was concerned, the dead couldn't defend themselves. The frame job, he argued, would also eliminate lingering doubts about his involvement in Dennis Savage's mysterious death, another shadow in his murky past. In a cold transaction, Jez promised Bobby money if he not only helped bury the evidence but also left the village for good. It was a last-ditch effort to silence the boy and erase all loose ends. John Paul's heartache and growing doubts. Back in the McQueen household, the atmosphere was anything but celebratory. John Paul's doubts continued to fester. Though he tried to present a composed front, the tension from Jez's violent outburst weighed heavily on him. His family noticed the change in his demeanor and grew increasingly worried. When questioned, John Paul downplayed the incident, insisting Jez hadn't physically hurt him. But behind his denial was a mind torn in two, torn between love and fear, hope and instinct. The emotional burden mounted as the hours ticked by. John Paul remained out of his wedding suit, hesitating to take the next step. Meanwhile, his family tiptoed around him, unsure of whether to urge him forward or intervene. A village meets a villain. Eventually, Jez and John Paul met in the heart of the village, where the tension was palpable. Jez, now back in his usual charming mask, pleaded with John Paul to move on from the incident. He assured him it was just a moment of frustration, something they'd overcome like every couple does. But words weren't enough. John Paul's silence spoke volumes. Their confrontation was interrupted by Martha, who tried to encourage John Paul to go through with the ceremony. Love isn't always perfect, she reasoned. It's about forgiveness, growth. But even her words couldn't lift the heaviness that had settled in John Paul's chest. Bobby's warning and Jez's next sinister move. Elsewhere, Bobby made a desperate attempt to intervene. With urgency in his voice, he tried to warn Mercedes McQueen, John Paul's half-sister, about Jez. But Bobby's words fell on ears already inundated with wedding chaos. Meanwhile, Jez took his next calculated step. Knowing that his lies and schemes were catching up to him, he raced to the police station. His goal? Plant the fabricated evidence linking Dilly Harcourt to Ian Stone's murder. As luck, or twisted fate, would have it, Jez caught a break. Dodger, a police officer, was forced to leave the evidence room due to an unrelated incident, giving Jez a golden opportunity. Seizing the moment, he stealthily placed the fake evidence in the proper files and slipped away unnoticed. With his tracks seemingly covered, Jez turned his attention back to the wedding. But what awaited him was not a joyous celebration, it was a reckoning. The wedding that never was. The ceremony that had been weeks in the making quickly unraveled. John Paul arrived, distant, withdrawn. The atmosphere in the venue was tense, the air thick with expectation and unspoken fear. Jez, unaware of the emotional storm building in his partner, began to recite his wedding vows. At first, they sounded heartfelt. But something felt off. John Paul's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. Then it clicked. The words Jez was speaking weren't his own. They were lifted verbatim from a famous Mark Twain poem. It was the final straw. You just say exactly what you want me to hear. It's empty, John Paul said coldly, his voice steady but pained. The room fell silent. Realizing that the man he was about to marry had deceived him even in his most intimate moment, John Paul called off the wedding on the spot. The situation escalated quickly. Jez, furious at being humiliated, lunged at John Paul in a fit of rage. Family members leapt into action, dragging Jez away before things got physical. The mask was off. The man Jez truly was had been revealed before everyone's eyes. Mercedes takes a stand. Mercedes McQueen, ever the fierce protector of her family, stepped in with fire in her eyes. She stood between her brother and Jez, confronting the unhinged man with unwavering resolve. If you come near my brother again, she warned, you'll have me to deal with. It was a chilling moment of defiance, one that Jez would not forget. Jez's descent continues. With his wedding in shambles and his lies collapsing, Jez retreated to the one place he felt in control, the allotment. There, in the shadows, was Robbie, who Jez had been secretly holding hostage. The man's mere presence was a reminder of just how deep Jez's deception and cruelty ran. As Jez vented about the day's events, his bitterness turned especially venomous toward Mercedes. To Jez, she was the reason everything had fallen apart. His anger wasn't just about the wedding, it was about the loss of power, control, and the image he had so carefully crafted. She'll pay, he whispered coldly, eyes dark with vengeance. A chilling cliffhanger. As Hollyoaks viewers reach the end of this shocking storyline arc, the stakes have never been higher. Jez has nothing left to lose, a dangerous position for a man already capable of murder. John Paul, wounded but free, is left questioning how close he came to binding his life to a killer. Mercedes, always a target when it comes to protecting her own, is unknowingly marked by someone with nothing but revenge in mind. And Bobby? The young boy knows too much. With Jez's secrets bubbling to the surface, how far will the villain go to silence him? What comes next? The fallout from this wedding disaster is sure to ripple through the Hollyoaks village in the coming weeks. Here's what fans can expect in the aftermath. Jez's wrath. With his public image destroyed and allies slipping away, Jez is poised to become more dangerous than ever. What will he do next, and who will fall into his crosshairs? John Paul's healing. Now free from a toxic relationship, can John Paul begin to heal from the emotional damage left behind? Or will Jez's shadow continue to haunt him? Mercedes in peril. With Jez vowing revenge, Mercedes may find herself in serious danger. Will she fight back, or fall victim to his schemes? Bobby's dilemma. As the only one with insight into Jez's murders and manipulations, Bobby is in a perilous position. Will he come forward, or be silenced? Conclusion. A turning point for Hollyoaks. The Jez-John Paul wedding arc is one of Hollyoaks' most gripping storylines of the year, blending psychological tension, raw emotion, and high-stakes drama. What started as a love story turned into a nightmare, revealing just how far one man would go to manipulate, deceive, and destroy. As fans reel from the revelations, one thing is clear, this isn't the end of Jez's story. If anything, it's only just begun.